I thought more people would show up and listen to you, but you're much more interesting.
That's all right.
So we'll see if people wander in, shall we?
They might wonder.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a
that's
more
where they are,
appropriate venue, wouldn't it, really? See, Nick and I met each other in the mid-1980s.
Yeah, 84 or 85.
Yeah, be about that.
It's what we more or less can't quite remember.
Now, Vicky, you're stealing my script, because I was going to say Nick and I have actually tried to compare notes about this, and we can't remember when we met each other. We just seem to be in the same place at the same time.
Making sure.
No, well, it's very similar to sort of being a hippie in the 1960s, isn't it? If you can remember it, you weren't there. And an awful lot of the people that would be able to verify that we were drinking together in the 1980s had died mostly of liver cancer. So tell us about your fanish career, Nick, because I'm probably going to learn stuff about you.
No.
I mean, no.
No.
What do you mean, no?
But all right, give me some. It's right up my fucking nose, isn't it? Give me a couple of guidelines, Dave.
Right.
Just don't say your fanish career. What do you want me to do? Start at like.
Where did you come from?
Oh boy.
You're not helping.
No.
You're not helping it,
No,
are you?
no.
Oh, Gordon Bennett. Well,
What was it that attracted you to something called fandom, and what flavour of fandom was it?
all right, here we go. Well, when I started work for Show UK 1979, and I actually started with them 1980. Art Rod left LSC, and done a couple of things there, and I met a bloke at work called Stuart McGregor, who was a massive Doctor Who fan, amongst other things. That was his number one Doctor Who fan. And McGregor was the one who told me about the Ton, First Thursdays. So it's when I started going to that, was in the very early 80s. And it was there that I met a lot of the Star Trek people and got involved with Star Trek and running Star Trek conventions. As a result of doing Tech Desk, Stavros, you wake up. As a result of doing Tech Desk for the Star Trek conventions, got asked by Roger Payton to do the tech for the Novacons. And so then did that, I think it was probably 1984, might have been 83, but round about then, the first time I did the tech for a Novacon, I remember it well for bad reasons as well as good reasons, because me and this bloke Dave Little, who was working on the Star Trek stuff, so my then wife Kim and Dave's wife Ros decided they wanted to come to the Novacon as well, but the ladies were Star Trek fans, so they never left the fucking room. They nicked the bed, so there was four of us in like one room. So we'd been working all day on the tech and had to sleep on the fucking floor. So I remember that very well indeed, apart from the getting drunk bits. But yeah, through that and through the Novacons, I made my first friends in what I call like real fandom, which is a bit naughty to say that because it's very denigrates the media fans. But so I got to be very friendly with a lot of the Brum Group people. Martin Tudor has been one of my best mates to this day. Tony Berry, Chris Murphy, Roger Payton, I say Dave Holmes, and this twat who was there as well. This one here.
Were you at your con 3? The Easter con in 85? Were you at that? Or was it just NovaCon at that point?
Now, it's really just Novacons. I haven't really done a lot of Easter cons ever. Done
No.
about maybe 3.
But then you started doing tech on lots of other conventions for us as you went along, didn't you?
We did Novacons and I did a couple of Mexicons.
Because you did a Mexicon for me.
Yeah.
And that's where I found out after, Mark Plummer told me I was on the tech desk at Mexicon 4 with Nic, and I'm going like, I don't remember you being, I haven't got a clue about this. And this is indicative. I didn't even remember Nic being there. And this is indicative of our entire friendship at the time. We were absolutely bladdered. We just no recollection at all. You think so?
Yeah, look, Vix remembers everything. You should just have her up here and like I can piss off back to the bar.
So,
But yeah, so that's how I got into, the fandom that we know. The Brum group at the time was, it was like nearly everybody was doing a fanzine at the time. Then Tony Berry was doing his and Martin was doing his. And so I got into that as well. And funnily enough, since you asked, which you didn't, but I might consider the very start of my fanzine career in 1977 when I was a student at LSE, and we put together a little gossip sheet for the halls of residence and whatnot that we were doing. Very scurrilous, shamelessly based on Private Eye. And I wish I'd still had copies of that to see like how shit I probably was back then. But yeah, it was a little gossip sheet called Saunders Scandal. After Carl Saunders was the name of the Hall of Residence. And we did a bunch of issues of that until we actually got shut down by the management.
so how many Novacons did you do work on?
Oh my good God. Well, all of them from, like I said, 84, 85 until 92 would have been my last one as a UK resident. I came back for a few after that, but like didn't work them. After I moved to the States, so when I went to the States in 93. The last convention I did was the Star Trek one in Telford. And that was the August convention of 1993. The Star Trek, there used to be 2 a year, 2 kind of main ones a year. One in the spring that was kind of bigger one, and then one in the autumn, which was a bit smaller. And I basically did this last convention, a holodeck convention, with my team on that, and pissed off to the States like the week after. I don't know. Is that? Can I shut up for a minute now? I was going to say.
We'll get there.
Fuck was that?
So, and the Mexicon, was it 3 and 4 or 4 and 5?
3 and 4, Mark.
I think you did 3, and I think 2 of us did 4 and 5.
There you go.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah.
Because I was at 3 and
So 4 was Spinrad, right?
No, 4 was Howard Waldrop and Paul Williams.
So was 5 Spinrad?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, Nick, yeah, so 5 was the one with Norman Spinrad.
Okay.
And I a bit of background about this, because I'm often asked how I first met Nic Farey. This was not the occasion when I first
remember, do you?
I do remember, yes, because we were running the tech desk at that particular Novacon, Mexicon, and sometimes we were both there, sometimes it would be one or the other, but we broadly speaking, we sat behind the tech desk all weekend. But it was a very good program, which was kind of useful. And then on the last night, Nic hosted one of his traditional fundraising parties. This one was actually in the bar. It's a masterpiece of fundraising, because what Nic did was he bought a case of Corona, the Mexican beer, and a bottle of tequila from the bar, and then sold it to other people in the bar at a markup, and they paid it. And this was a fundraiser for Fans Across the World or TAF or something like that. I said there was a case of Corona and there was a bottle of tequila. Now, in fairness, quite a lot of the bottle of tequila was drunk by Nick. And after a while, he passed out in the bar as he was just completely zonked out. And Norman Spinrad, who was the guest of honor that year, who had come over and was drinking with us with his then wife, Lee Wood. I heard Norman explaining to someone that actually this was the reason why Nick had been drinking so heavily, why he had passed out in the bar, was because he'd been behind the tech desk all weekend. He actually hadn't been able to have a drink at all until this point. Whereas, in fact, we've been going through beer at a rate of about a pint an hour for the previous 3 days solid. But Norman was quite convinced that that was the only reason you got hammered in the bar, was because you hadn't been able to have a drink up until that point. And then Norman and Lee Wood carried you back to your room.
Yeah.
Which I think.
Yeah, kept like carried to bed by the guest of honor at the Mexicon. I think that's one of my proudest and most unique achievements in this Spanish career of which you speak.
So when did you move into fan writing? When, you know, you've said about the thing you did at the LS.
Oh, right.
The actual organised fan writing, producing fanzines, having opinions.
Well, early on, I put in that when I started going to the Novacons. I did the first issue of Arrows of Desire, which I just wrote myself. So it's probably one of the best ones. Oh,
Haha.
yeah, thanks for that fucking reaction. All right. And it turned into a pretty decent fanzine after that. I got a lot of other people that I'd got to know at the Novacons and stuff, writing stuff for it. Some who didn't always have stuff in other fans. So yeah, from there on, really, I concentrated on that. And that was, yeah, I suppose, start of fan writing. I don't know. It all sounds a bit wishy-washy, doesn't it?
Mm.
Some of those are very uncomfortable reading.
Yeah. There was
Very.
and with that we did we themed issues after, except for the first one, which was just a mishmash bunch of shit off of me. But all the ones after that we themed up. One was what was it, the Love, Lust and Like issue, the rock and roll stories. Then there was Hate, Fear and Loathing. There was an issue themed on death. And yeah, that was a lot of really upfront, on point writing from various people in there. Thank you for saying that, Ashley. Makes it seem all very worthwhile. And we had 3 little, I don't know, we would call them running jokes, running things going through just about every issue, except for the first one and the very last one, was that every issue would actually have a contribution from a professionally published writer. So I actually got contributions from I had one from Langford. I had Storm Constantine did something for me. Holder Filippo was in a couple of times. Who else do you remember? Oh, Graham Joyce. I had something off Graham Joyce. Nice bit off him in the Bloody Foreigners issue. I got a really nice bit with Graham Joyce on the Greeks. And the 2 other things was, somewhere in the issue would be a mention of Bernie Evans. Also, somewhere in every issue would be a little dig at Ian Banks. And we can carry that through, like I say, except for the first one and the very last one, which was kind of a different kettle altogether.
Why were you having a dig at Ian? He was one of our regular drinking buddies.
Don't you remember when he took me to task over that letter I wrote to Private Eye?
No. Tell us
That's
about
because
it.
you were pissed.
Well, I was also skint and couldn't afford a subscription to Private Eye at the time.
Well,
Probably.
I'll just buy it off the fucking rack.
Yeah, but I had kids bringing up. I was skint.
All right. They done Private Eye in the literary review at the back. They'd done one issue where they'd reviewed this time travel-y piece of shit by, I think it was Salman Rushdie, silly old fraud he is. But they reviewed that not favourably as they do. So I'd actually written a letter in and saying, well, here's a bunch of other stuff that Rushdie could basically have nicked all of this off in, science fiction, like Let's Go to Golgotha and, mentioning a couple of other things like that going through. And just at the end of it, I put, oh, P.S., when is Bookworm going to have a go at Ian Banks? And of course, Banksy had read that. And so we're up at the bar at the Novacon. Banksy raising himself up to his full Scottish height and ferocity. What's this I'm reading in private eye? All this bloody letter from you. And it's probably terribly in Banks accent. But,
I was going to say,
I'm just trying to be ferociously Scottish with that. And it was, it was this tremendous exhibit of mock anger, and I was fucking terrified. I thought he was really going to hit me. Someone shrinking back. But yeah, he did that.
So
ask her something.
I'm gonna get to
get there.
Jane. I'm trying to build up the sympathy for her through.
All right, I see what you're doing now. All right.
So how do we get to this here and Beaton? So Arrows of Desire. What happens next? And then we
Okay.
get-
Oh, fucking hell. When I did the very last issue of Arrows of Desire, came out as it was basically after I lost my second wife to breast cancer, so I was widowed, and I kind of wanted to really get into that story. Well, try and just like put it out there, relieve myself of a lot of the shit that was going on in my head. So I thought, oh, all right, I want to write down, this year, the story of this year. And I was trying to, excuse me a second. I was trying to figure out how I was going to do that. And I remember I was actually having a conversation with Paul Kincaid about how I was, like struggling with this a bit on how to put it together. So what I ended up deciding on was doing it in two separate voices, which was one was for yes, anybody under the age of 93 in here, but will probably not remember that Arrows of Desire fanzine that I actually did under a pseudonym. I wrote under the pseudonym of SVOJ, which if you want to know where that comes from, it basically stands for 7 Views of Jerusalem, which is a really, really excellent fucking song by the Teardrop Explodes. So I wrote everything under a pseudonym, but it wasn't like a hit. Everyone knew it was me, but writing under that name. And it was SVOJ had a, what do I call it? Can I call it a contrived voice? A manufactured voice. It wasn't really, it was my genuine voice, like you would see in stuff I write today, I suppose. So I split up that last issue, which was Arrows of Desire, broadly titled This Time Next Year. And oh, sorry, I'm tearing up a bit. And so thank you, dear. And so I did like that narrative portions of it were done as SVOJ, and the kind of more reactive, emotional parts of it I wrote as Nic Farey. And I've got to say that Kincaid afterwards, he did, because he kind of knew what was coming. Like I said, we discussed this format. He actually said it's one of the best things he'd ever fucking read. So I felt seriously vindicated on that one. And I've got a submission from somebody I've never heard from before or since, a young lady called Tracy Twyman. And no idea whatever happened to her, but she sent me this little piece of writing about from when she was a kid, entitled The Day I Found Out What Fuck Meant. And that was pretty much in your face writing, but some not entirely pleasant stuff. So that actually went with what I wrote. It was just those two things in that issue, quite different, but somehow they kind of fit together for being in there. So after I'd done that final issue of Arrows of Desire, I kind of started writing what was going to be the next chapter of that. And it was like, yeah, I got no idea what I'm fucking doing with this now. So with that, I ended up, instead of continuing with Arrows of Desire, kind of segueing that into this here. And that's what followed was the first issue of this here, which has run for like 3 series now, 3 different bits of it. I did that first bit and then stopped and then a little second series, and then what's going on now has been the 3rd series of it.
3rd series.
So I translated that into this here, and I think if anyone's really asked about doing this kind of thing, you can almost see, you look at those very, very early issues of this here, and you can see how it's transitional. It's very transitional between like the XVOJ voice and me writing more like I talk. So I don't know, can I leave it there for a minute? Can I leave it there? Go on.
Yeah.
Ask her something.
Well,
He might not be ready to.
you see, right. The question I want to ask Jane is,
Yes.
right, first of all, how did you meet Nick?
Oh boy.
And
Fucking bar. Where do you
A
think?
bar.
in a bar.
In a bar.
In a
But
bar.
and how did this smooth talking chap woo you? Because we know on the written page he can be absolutely wonderful
Oh yeah.
in person.
He's absolutely wonderful.
You're trying to con me now. Aren't you?
Oi, pay attention, lads. This
Oi,
is good. You might
oi.
fucking learn
Yeah,
something.
this is good. So
Not you.
all right. So yes, we met at a bar, which is weird for me because half of you probably know by now I don't drink. We've had this conversation. But I went with friends, and I had been divorced for about 10 months, so under a year, but long enough. I wasn't looking for anything. But there he was at the same bar playing pool. And the people that brought me knew him. They did not bring me to set us up, but they just they didn't know he was going to be there. Had they known, we may have gone somewhere else. I don't know. But anyway, so there we were. And I had worn a mini skirt that night, and I was sitting on a tall stool. So my legs were available. Nick is a leg man. And by the end of the night, he had come over and asked if he could hug my legs. That was the smooth talk. And I said,
That is actually
sure.
quite smooth,
It was.
Nick. Yeah.
and
So true.
nice accents, nice smile with, not as many teeth as I was used to, but how many did you have? 10? I think you had 10 teeth at that point
What, how many teeth?
of your own.
Oh,
Yeah, eight. Yeah. So, but they were in the right spot, so it worked. Anyway, so yeah, that's how we met that night. And by the end of the night, we'd exchanged contact information, and then we just, because he was, split up too. So we just both were looking for, some fun.
So were the mutual friends that you went with, were they Spanish friends?
No, I knew nothing about fandom at this point. So, okay, can I go back a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, so my story starts in Hollywood, where I was born and lived over a mortuary for 10 years with my family because my grandmother ran the mortuary. And so we were 1 block down from Hollywood and Vine. So that's where we lived, Hollywood and Argyle, above this mortuary. The reason this is interesting is because, okay, so probably my earliest fandom-y kind of experience would be Dark Shadows, the Gothic soap opera that was on, started like in 66. I was born in 64. So I remember sitting on my mom's back and watching that show when I was little. And one of the reasons why vampires were so important to us was because my grandfather had been a concert violinist in Hungary, where he had known Bela Lugosi, and they knew each other when they both came over to America. And they, stayed in contact and commiserated about the fact that neither one of them could get the career that they hoped to have. Bella obviously became famous, but not for what he wanted to be famous for. So anyway, vampires were very, dear to my family. So Barnabas was my first fandom. And my mom got me an autographed picture of him that I still have. It's on our bookcase. We also have an autographed picture of Bella. All this stuff. I had an LP, the soundtrack from the show, and I took it to kindergarten with me for show and tell one time, and the teacher wouldn't let us play it because it was scary for the other kids. It was like, and have her bring another record. It'll be fine. And when we would go to the playground, I would make graveyards in the sandbox. So yeah, that was me growing up. But anyway, so I kind of had, I guess, a media fandom. Would that be what you'd call it? Yeah. I didn't know anything about fanzines. I didn't know anything about fan conventions. I've had people ask me, well, you must have been in LostCon. Is it LostCon? LostFest? Lost something or other.
Last was and Lost Con.
Okay, either one. I wasn't. I didn't even know about them. So when I met him, he showed me a fanzine. I was like, what the heck is this? I didn't understand any of it because it was all it was like all circular. It was in jokes, and it was, this refers to something that was 3 issues ago, or something that's been going on for a while. And I said, does this make sense to people who read it? He's like, yeah. So anyway, the longer we stayed together, the more I found out about what that was. And when we first were together, he was running the Corflu in Richmond. He was in Las Vegas, but running the Richmond Corflu. So I kind of got to see how that worked. Mm-hmm. I didn't go to that one, but but since then, now I write a fanzine of my own, and I've been involved in the running of 2 other cons. This is the first one I've gotten to go to and not been involved in the planning. Thank you.
So how did the publishing part come about?
Oh, my publishing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in 2017, decided I was starting a publishing company. Because I had been traditionally published. I had about 12 books that were out under my previous name, and I'll just shock everybody now. They were Christian fiction. They were not crazy Christian fiction. I'm not that kind. But sweet romance kind of thing, relationship kind of stories, those type of things. And I was working on a career, and then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 of the places that were publishing me decided we're getting rid of our fiction divisions. So that sucks. So basically then I had nothing. And I said, I'm going to start my own company. Because I knew a couple of people that I thought they should be published, but they're not. And that this is just general fiction. So started that, found out that it's hard. It's the marketing. The marketing is the hard part. We had really good books. The people who read them really enjoyed them. We got good reviews. The problem is people knowing they exist. So the company is kind of, it's kind of in a hibernation period right now. It's not closed, but it's also not highly active. There's 2 people that I will probably publish for the rest of my life because they're like family now. And I do hope to get back to my own stuff this year.
And of course, you've published another British fan, Simon Ownsley.
Yes, I did. Yes, I published Simon Ownsley's 2 books. What was it? Strange Days on Peculiar Hill. And I'm sorry, Simon, I have blank. Oh, The Shop on Peculiar Hill. Thanks. Yes. So yes, that was the first one, The Shop on Peculiar Hill. Yeah. And I was so excited about that book because it was really good. And we had a cover that Pete Lyon did, and they were great. but again, it was, how do you get people to know that these books are here? And he did as much as he could. But then also COVID came, in 2020, and that was shortly after his book came out. So there were in-person things that we had planned that he couldn't do. And the same with some of my other authors. They had in-person events that they were going to do, and all of a sudden they couldn't do them. So it kind of just sucked the enthusiasm out of everybody. And then by the time that we could do things, it was like, oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good learning experience for all of us, I think. Yeah.
And you've started publishing your own fanzine, Gen Z.
Yes. Yes.
How was Nic's fanzine career that you've seen firsthand? How's that influenced that?
Well, I wouldn't have done one without knowing him, obviously. And when I was trying to think of what to call mine, I almost called it That There. This here. But I thought that might be a little too on the nose and on the coattails. So I was like, yeah, let me go. And then Genzine, it's a perzine, but I'm Gen, so it's Genzine. I got wordplay. So that's why that happened. But yeah, my main reason for doing a fanzine was that I wanted to document some stuff, because I'm 60 now, and I'm thinking about what am I leaving behind. And I wanted to start writing some things about, okay, this is what I feel about stuff. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. I put some memories in there about like when I was a kid. And every issue I send to my son, who was 32, because whether he reads them or not, I want him to have them so that he has this history from his mother. So that was part of it too. Yeah.
I think as I said earlier in the weekend, I went along with Nic to watch Watford play earlier in the week. And his son and 2 grandchildren were there. And I didn't realise at the time this was Nic's first time physically meeting his son and his grandchildren. I thought you'd actually met your son physically before.
No.
So
Only over FaceTime.
So I felt it was a privilege to be there at the period, but it also felt a little intrusive. Are you making sure that your children are seeing your writing and I mean, because Jen started writing her zine because she wanted to put some personal stuff down. She wants to communicate with family. She wants to, what are your motivations now? You've been doing this stuff for so long. What keeps you doing it? What keeps this here coming out on that monthly schedule?
That's a bloody good question, isn't it? Well, shut up, Rex. Well, when I first started doing it, like I said, it ended up being a continuation of the stuff that I was doing with Errors and Desire, but just me, just as a person. And then I ran out of steam after 8 issues. But then whenever I picked it back up, I can't even remember why I fucking picked it back up again when I did for the second time. Oh, yeah. Well, that first series, I was working at computer application specialists in Maryland at the time. So I'd go in early, nick their photocopier, run all the copies off and, all of that, and then mail everything out. So it was still going out on paper. And then basically I've run out of job and run out of money. So I stopped doing it. So I must have picked it up. Yeah, I picked it up the second series. It was on that was PDF, I'm pretty sure. I might be getting this totally fucking wrong, but I'm just saying this on a basis that nobody's going to be asked to go and check. And then that kind of petered out, and it's like, yeah, I ain't got too much more to say. But you may probably be aware that I was spurred into getting back at it by Michael Dobson, and not for good reasons. because essentially, well, not too fine a point upon it. It's, I'd administered the fan awards for the first time the year before. Dobson's Corflu. He'd asked me to do it again. And we had a fundamental disagreement, which was basically over whether people could recuse from the awards. He wanted, because Steve Stiles at the time was making shit tons of noise and, oh no, like, you can't vote for me in the awards and I don't want you to vote for me and stuff like that, vote for somebody else, which he's perfectly entitled to do that. But I did not consider that to be a reason to discount votes, because if people want to vote for you, they'll vote for you. And Dobson took the opposite view. So in the end, I said, well, look, I'll stand down and you do it however you want to do it. Because I've really always seen the fan award administrator's job technically as a Corflu staff position, basically through the virtue of the fact that Corflu sponsors the awards, in the sense that, you know, Corflu makes up nice trophies or whatever. It provides a venue for the presentation. So it's a Corflu sponsored award, but you don't have to be in Corflu to vote on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So my position is I would defer to the wishes of whoever the Corflu chair is. Now, we've had continuity over the last 3 years, so I haven't really had a lot of argument. So I stepped down, and I hadn't realised at the time that what Dobson wanted to do was completely tear the fucking things up. And instead of the 6 or 7 awards that we'd had, he gave 30 different awards. Some were considered like trophy level, so up there, and a bunch of certificates. There were 30 awards given. The awards weren't publicised the way they should have been. He didn't even send me a fucking ballot form. I had to go and find one, and then looked at that and decided I think it's the only fan awards that I haven't voted in. And after the previous actual record year, although for strange reasons, where we actually got 70-something ballots in the year before when I administered it, because I was going around fucking whipping people up. And some people were trying to stuff the ballot, so that got a few more in. So after that, which was great, with the efforts the following year returned 19 ballots. There were 19 voters who gave out 30 awards. They were fucking busy. So after that, and I thought to myself, I have something to say about this. So I revived this here, and a lot of those early issues were continued kind of to and fro about, me really kind of bitching and complaining about, saying, what a load of old nonsense this is, and talking about some other stuff. But I retained the format that I'd had with previous issues. There were separate columns on separate topics. So I'd talk about music. I'll have a little music column, which was just called Tunes back then, but it's now called Radio Winston, for reasons that I would not explain over a public microphone. And I used to write about professional wrestling, but now I've kind of switched over to writing about football. I would have a column about columns about TV and movies, and that kind of shit. So but a lot of that was Trains is recent. That's actually a recent addition, the Anorak column. But so all bits and pieces like that. But a lot of it was really kind of Fannish discussion on Fannish topics, Fannish politics, really, if you will, which is, I know, something a lot of people recoil and shun off of that. But I went into that, but I'm also including, news about them, what's the latest TAF race and stuff like that, because it's stuff of interest to me. And lo and behold, quite a bit of it emerging from the antipodes for some strange reason. I got a load of response. I was getting like a ton of, loads of locks from all these various people weighing in, telling me what an arsehole I was in some parts. I'll print all that. I mean, yeah, you disagree with me, what do you like? And I'll print it. And to be honest, a lot of it really, I still feature that same kind of stuff, Spanish commentary. Now you got football, now you got train spotting in there as well. But I'm still getting all that. Yeah, I'm still getting that reaction and feedback. There's a little community, of the people there now. And the letters and comment is what makes the fanzine. It's that conversation. And I've really got to thank all those people for continuing to, provide impetus to do another one.
Can I say something?
No, yes.
Okay.
Please do. They're sick of me already.
No. It's funny because he will send an issue out and he'll come into me like come into the room and say to me 10 minutes later, I've got my first lock. And I'm like, seriously? Because sometimes, it takes me forever to get one. And I appreciate the people who do send them. But yeah, I mean, he just immediately starts getting locks as soon as he sends it out.
You haven't thought of saying to him, hold on, where's my column in it?
No.
Why not?
You know what? I like keeping our stuff separate. Early on, I offered, if you want, I'll look at it before you send it out. I'll give it an edit, right? Well, I realized that an American editor editing something written by a British writer, very different, because there are certain grammar and punctuation things that aren't the same. There are things that he spells wrong on purpose. You know how fandom is. There's all these weird words for stuff. So I'd come to him with, all proud of, look, I found all these typos for you, honey. He's like, no, I meant that. So, we do have a book that we are trying to write together. Maybe that will happen. Y'all need to keep bugging him about it so that we'll actually do it. We've been working on it for 10 years.
Teaser.
Go ahead. You're good at it. Well, he's got this elevator pitched down. I meander. I meander too much when I talk about it. Go ahead, honey.
I think the funniest bit was, she's looking over an issue of this here. And she'll come back in like, who is Nigel Molesworth?
I still don't know.
Still don't know.
Who's Nigel? I don't even remember that. Who is Nigel?
No, I actually just made
Who's he face? Oh, all right. I was gonna say I don't remember that at all.
Say that, but
no, I'm always asking, who is this person? What is this? Is this a thing?
But
you made that up, didn't you?
With any typical issue of this year, there will be some Molesworth spellings in there.
Yeah.
On occasion.
Okay.
Ronald Searle.
There you go.
Yeah, well.
So teaser, come on for this book. You're right.
Oh, that's what I was going to have a chance to nip out for a smoke.
No, just do the real short.
Oh, Golden Betty. Okay, it's
alternative history.
Well, it's an alternative history setting.
Yes.
It's not so much about the mechanics of the alternate history. So if you think, say, like Fatherland, which is an alternate history setting, but it's basically a police procedure. This is an alternate history setting, but it's a royal drama. And the point of divergence in the history is that Edward VIII marries Wallis and does not abdicate. Right, he gets his way with that and agrees to a morganatic union, in which for anyone who doesn't know means that heirs are not actually in a line of succession. It takes them out of the line of succession.
And who come up with the initial idea?
Huh?
Who come up with the initial idea?
Nick did.
So why does it appeal to you, Jen?
I like the idea of doing an alternative history. I like that. I haven't written anything sci-fi yet. I've kind of written fantasy-ish things. I have a series of 3 novellas that I wrote that was in another author's universe. That it's Kristen Painter's Nocturne Falls universe. And I wrote 3 books about a nymph, not a nympho, a nymph. I've had people ask me that too. But anyway, so I have those. Really enjoy doing those. And I wrote those as J.L. Farey. That was like the first thing I wrote that was under my new name, not my old, writing. And I would like to write something like this that has that, what if kind of thing. I will say that my goal in life, which I probably won't achieve, but what I want to do is write a time travel story that does not loop back on itself and that actually makes sense. I don't know if that's possible, but I love time travel.
And you said there, being a British writer,
Mhm.
do you still actually, because Nick's been out in the States a good long time.
Right. Yeah.
Is he a British writer?
I think so. I still consider him a British writer because the way that he approaches things is much different. And so he wrote a preface, and I realized that when he wrote that, the stuff that I was then writing to come around to add to it, and I was kind of writing up like the synopsis for our story. My writing is very different than his in the way we word things and the way we approach things. So to be able to knit those together seamlessly is going to be a challenge. It may be more of Nick writing the main book, but me coming up with more of like plot details and ideas and things that are going to come over here because we've already done that. There are like several things that I said, what if we do this and this and this, that he hadn't originally thought of. So I think probably he'll end up writing most of it, and then I'll come in and do other things.
Would you publish it yourself, or?
You know what? I mean, if we could find a traditional publisher, that would be great, but there's no reason not to. I mean, I would, sure. Yeah.
So, Nick, when did you develop this ambition to become a professional science fiction writer?
Oh, damn.
Is this true? Did you decide to write?
Ow.
I'm sorry. You can barely, he's a fragile flower.
I
You can hardly touch him. Did you decide to write a book after you met me because I was a book writer? Is
No.
that okay? Well, see, then that had nothing to do with it. So you
no,
had
it's,
an
well,
ambition.
actually, it is utterly fair to say that you certainly revived my interest into possibly going back into this novel, because I've had that idea in the back of my head for probably 20 years,
Oh.
For this book, and done nothing with it, obviously, I've done fuck all with
Yeah.
it.
He's done more
So-
with it now than he ever did before. We have a notebook.
Yeah.
We have an actual
Got
notebook.
a notebook and like the first 2 semi-chapters, a little preface, a couple of little
So
opening
Yes.
scenes.
is it possible that you got used to writing a certain length in a certain form, and it's just Jen has influenced you to stretch out a little more?
Yeah, you could say that, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, I just did.
Very nice.
Well, straight again to make sure.
I can't even remember what I said.
Because you were pissed.
What you said. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, the notebook's sitting there, and
Yeah.
I had that little flurry and wrote 2 opening scenes, one with the main characters and one with like Edward VIII, and Edward VIII having a bang at the Prime Minister, basically. That
Doing what to the Prime
No, he's
Minister?
not banging him. No.
he's having a go at it. Basically, he challenges the Prime Minister,
Yeah.
who's, oh no, you're going to have to abdicate, blah blah blah. The people this, the people that, and Edward says to him, essentially, this is not exactly how it's written. So Edward essentially says to him, "Yeah, you think so? They're my people, mate. So bring it the fuck on."
Sounds you.
And
Yeah.
Prime Minister backs down. He said, "All right, how can we do this? Morgan Attic Union. All right, That's the.
Right.
as
You were
a
going to say
critic.
something, Jay.
I think what may happen with this book, I'm just starting to realize it now, is that I'm going to go home at some point and I'm going to start writing it on my own. And then I'm going to show it to him and he's going to go, that's not right. No, 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 no. And then he'll fix it and he'll take over, which will be fine.
But it'll get the wordage on the page to be.
Well, yeah, we'll get a wordage on
Yeah.
the page. That, like, the other point is, that is just a point of a scene that explains
Right.
the point of divergence in history. The actual novel is set in the 1960s.
So you're developing a real working partnership as well, aren't you now? I mean, you met this science fiction
Yeah.
fan who
It's
was,
science fiction, man. Yeah.
you know, who was
Yeah.
publishing these
Right.
weird little fanzines, and it's influenced you into that, and
Yes.
and you've fed back in, and you're becoming like almost like some sort of
It's like the fly.
creative force to go.
That's right. Like I've stepped into that fly chamber and we've morphed.
You've morphed. have you?
Yeah,
Well,
I know.
we definitely complement each other.
Yes, we do.
You are a very nice couple. I mean,
Thanks.
when I met you last, the first thing that went through my mind when I met you, Jay, is what has this poor woman let herself in?
Stockholm syndrome.
You said that about every single one of my fucking wives.
Okay,
So come on.
You didn't need.
Well, actually, everybody said that about.
I would also like to add that when Nick and I got together, and it was my idea to get married. I said, you know, you need to marry me, and he goes, no, I can't. I can't. I'm like, why? Because I cannot say I've been married 4 times, and I was like, well, what difference does that make? I said, look, you haven't been married. I'm not your 4th wife. I'm your last wife. And that's true. It's
Yep.
like, you know, so there, and I wore him down.
Well, perhaps you just realised that he's going to drink himself to death before.
Oh,
You know,
that's true. Yeah, he's not going to have time to groom anybody else.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
So
he
far,
does
so
like a
good.
beer, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah.
And a tequila and a vodka and a.
Do not give him champagne. Never.
Don't give anyone champagne.
He had champagne, or he had like a drink. He didn't even have a full glass of champagne. I think that was the thing that put him over. He did a speech at our wedding that was unbelievable. And there were people there who, that was the first time they were meeting him from my family. And they were just looking at this man ranting and going back and forth and doing his profanity laden speech. And I'm grinning at him like, you know, but I'm also dying a little inside because I'm like, I love him so much, but did he have to do this? So yeah, it's champagne. I blame it on the champagne.
Well, and several beers and whiskeys that I'd had before I had the
Yeah.
glass of champagne.
And no food.
And
Literally no food all day. So there were issues.
I don't really want to talk about Nick and food because he's been
Okay.
telling me about his ring piece all this
Oh,
weekend.
oh yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
mess. I'm
It's
telling you.
been.
I think we should
so-
just skip that entirely.
Yeah, but I just wanted to let you know, don't mention food to Nick. You're going to get horrible, colourful conversation.
Too
going.
much.
I'm like 3 combined episodes of Novick's Piles out of this. That's what it's like. I'm telling you.
Sore.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I
It's
think
not, I see. I mentioned this has happened before.
Oh,
And I don't know when you have this over here. I think it was Office Depot that ran this advertising campaign over in the States. And this big red button that says easy on it. And I'm like, it's not easy, but that's what it feels like down there.
Sounds like you need an arsehole.
Very scatological. I can't talk about that.
I think
Arsehole transplant and go.
My entire com report, I think of the Corflu Pangloss in Vancouver was basically, oh, I had the shits all weekend because of all the Guinness I was drinking. What?
I think I'm going to end it there. To be honest,
So
no, we've run out of time.
My bum is fine.
Your bum is.
Yeah.
it's the sweetest bum in the entire known universe,
Right.
in my opinion.
Right. That's been Nick and Jane Farey. Corflu 50 delegates this year. Show your appreciation, please.
Oh, and we didn't say it, but thank you for letting us be the delegates.
Oh,
This
absolutely,
has
yep.
been wonderful. So we
Yep.
really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolute eternal thanks to the Corflu 50
Yes.
and to various other people who made donations to make this the far-flung Fari Safari into a trip of a lifetime, really for both of us.
Yes.
And on that note, there will be a trip report, a joint trip report, but which will get
Yes.
published probably not so long after we get back. We'll get to work on that. And we will have print copies of that combined trip report, and that will be sold to raise money to give back to Corflu 50.
Yes.
All the proceeds from that will go back to Corflu 50.
There will be
Because
as
we
little
straighten it
as
out.
possible information about his bum as possible.
Hey, thanks everybody. Can I have another pint now?
Yeah. Yeah.